Welcome back, everyone. Oz here, and today I've got some r/entitled people for you all. As per usual, I'm going to narrate the story and give you my opinions, and I hope you all give your own. There's a few in here that I'm definitely curious to hear some general input on because I got some questions. OK Operation 4893. Mom wants to save my brother with my credit on the line. My mom texted me this morning asking if I could co-sign for my 18-year-old brother's student loan. I'm 24 female and graduated with my undergrad in 2022. I still have student loans in my name and I can't afford to take on anyone else's. I'm also starting my master program in September and I'm buying a condo by the end of this year. I can't have hard inquiries on my credit and I've expressed that to her. She claims she needs 2 co-signers for his student loan, but I'm 70% sure that's a lie. If anyone wants to fact check me, please do so. My brother graduated this past May with a 2.4 GPA. He's getting a huge portion of his college paid for because he received a lacrosse scholarship. Unfortunately, my mom wasn't as strict with my brother when it came to his grades or anything for that matter. I have a little bit of sympathy for her since she's a single parent, but it's still not fair. I'm still going to move out, but that's not until the end of the year. Any advice is greatly appreciated. Update, thank you all for the advice. I've locked my credit on all 3 sites. I spoke with my mom and told her that it's his responsibility and to let the cord go because he's an adult now. She didn't like what I had to say, but you're all right. I have to put myself first. I will also be moving out by the end of the year, so fingers crossed I can find something ASAP. That is actually probably the best move they could have made in this situation, especially if the mother is intimately familiar with her daughter's social security number, because while it would be shitty, I wouldn't be surprised if the mother would actually use her daughter's social to get her son a student loan. And also, I highly doubt that they need 2 co-signers. I don't think the mother has good credit and is trying to get someone who does have good credit to co-sign on it. Just some general advice from someone who's made a lot of mistakes while growing up. Don't co-sign on something if you're not ready to take on that responsibility because it will bite you in the ass. Like, unless you're a parent co-signing on something for a child, it's a little bit different in that circumstance, but try to avoid co-signing on something for like a significant other or a best friend or another family member who's not like directly related, like a cousin. Just avoid co-signing for things because if they fuck up, it's on you. Blue Wolven. Coworker commits a felony because she thinks I'm lazy. For context, I work in a warehouse for one of the major US package delivery companies. Think Amazon, UPS, FedEx, USPS. I load a straight truck, but I also handle the rediverts, which are packages that mistakenly end up in the wrong parts of the building and need to be carted to the right area, for 3 separate areas, which can keep me pretty busy. Monday morning for us was a nightmare. We were incredibly short-staffed and busy as hell, so on top of handling my very packed truck and all of the rediverts, I was also assisting another work area that was way behind, assisting my manager in loading a semi-trailer. He has heart problems and shouldn't be doing so much hard work like that by himself, and checking on 3 other coworkers who had multiple straight trucks to load by themselves. My manager asked me to do all of this, since everyone else was also extremely busy. This meant my original truck would often get neglected and the packages would pile up until I could get back to loading them. Enter Entitled Coworker, or EC for short. EC has just come back from about a month off. She's responsible for sorting packages off one of the main conveyor belts and sending them to my work area, as well as a couple others. So when I'm not there to load my truck, it can get pretty backed up. And that stresses EC right out. Another thing about EC is she's been kicked out of every other part of the building for being too slow and constantly complaining. If you ask her to lift a heavy box, she cries that she can't do it. If it's getting busy and packages are piling up, she cries that she can't handle all the work. If another coworker snaps at her, it's a stressful job so tempers can run high, and asks that she do her job, she cries that the other person started the fight. Her and I have had problems before. She once dropped an open bottle of Sprite all over a box containing very fragile medical supplies. Obviously the box had to be damaged out and claim paid on it, but she insisted it was my fault it happened because my work area was getting backed up and she started throwing boxes where she shouldn't. But I just try to ignore her. I don't come to work to start drama or fights. I come to work, sweat my ass off, and get paid. So Monday, I'm running ragged doing the jobs of 5 people, and my work area was getting backed up, frequently. I walk over to hand some rediverts over to a different coworker who was also backed up and running ragged, and I look up just in time to see EC, phone up, taking pictures of me. My work area and my coworker's work area, so she could send them to our manager to complain about how lazy we were being. Now, for those of you that don't know, taking pictures of personal packages and addresses is highly illegal. It counts as a form of mail fraud, which is a felony offense. If the United States Postal Inspection Services found out, our warehouse could have been raided and she could have been thrown in jail. So not only is it rude, it's extremely and explicitly forbidden in the workplace. So as soon as I saw her do that, I started fuming. Thankfully, I happened to spot the sort manager, my manager's manager, across the way. So I stopped him and told him what happened, and he had a stern talking to with her. I didn't hear most of the conversation, but I did hear her crying, "Oh, but coworker," trying to pin all the blame on him for being overloaded with packages. I don't think she got in serious trouble this time, but I doubt she learned her lesson, and if she does it again, I won't hesitate to go higher up. I hope this witch gets fired. Honestly, to me, it sounds like she's not cut out to be working in this environment. If she's been kicked off different lines and moved to different areas and is constantly complaining and crying, and whenever something happens that inconveniences her, she tends to complain and commits a felony to prove a point, I think she should probably try to find work elsewhere. Especially when her main complaint is the fact that you're helping others out and essentially doing the job of 5 people. Good on you for working your ass off. Hopefully you get a raise, and hopefully you also get someone else to help you with sorting, because she should probably not be working there. Especially because she put everyone's job at risk by potentially fucking with the USPIS. Softest little bab. Man feels entitled to a minor's, information. So this happened a while back when I was still a minor on a short flight. I, at the time, 16 female, was seated in the front row of the plane in the window seat. I was flying alone to meet my dad, who had already been gone for a while. My dad had kindly booked the seat in the middle seat as blocked, so I didn't have to sit next to another person. This man sits in the aisle seat across the row from me, and I politely greet him. I'm not American, and it's rather normal here to make some polite and friendly conversation with the people you're next to on flights. So, cue some harmless small talk about our destination and what we're there for, etc. This is when things start to get slightly weird. We're now fully boarded, and this grown man looks at me and says, "Well, I'm so glad nobody came and sat between us," in a weird tone that made me uncomfortable. I quietly pull out my laptop from under the seat and awkwardly point out that my dad had blocked the seat so I wouldn't have to sit next to strangers, as I am a minor. He attempts to move to the middle seat, and I politely tell him not to, and that I would prefer my space. Once we've taken off, I resume working on an essay for school, and he continues trying to talk to me, getting more and more frustrated as I reply blandly without much interest. Eventually, he asks me if he can have my phone number. I decline. Remind him that I'm a minor and he's a good 10 years older than me. He starts to ask for my social medias, trying to look over my phone for them. He's getting angry and asks me what my big deal is. I should have just given them to him. I'm attractive and it's a compliment. No, you should not have. I look at him and bluntly state that him trying to have romantic relationships with a minor is illegal. And he proceeds to say, no, it's not. And he can take care of me, and I should just give him one of my social medias so he can date me, etc. I again tell him no, and he's very frustrated in his seat, once again trying to move to the middle one, but I again remind him not to. My final straw is him handing me his phone and telling me to type the name of my school into it so he can find me. Firmly decline again. I've been firm for a good 15 or 20 minutes of this flight, and he still believes he's entitled to knowing my details, and I'm being rude. I get up and walk the 2 flight attendants rolling a cart down the aisle, shaking and telling them what's going on. The male flight attendant goes over and speaks to a captain sitting in the jump seat before he goes and kneels next to the man in the aisle and speaks to him. Though majorly disgruntled, the man stops talking to me, but not without dirty looks. Last bit of my flight, I spend with my headphones in securely and writing an essay. The kicker? This man had been bragging about the fact that he was an engineer who was returning from winning Engineering Team of the Year, and his boss sitting 2 seats away watching this entire encounter. Just what in the world? Anyway, men are not entitled to women in their details, especially not minors. Sadly, men in this country tend to treat women with great disrespect and very little care for their autonomy and consent. Edit before anyone else assumes this is rage bait or something from ChatGPT. I'm sorry I explained things in a more professional way. This is an actual story that I put out to highlight the way that people can be treated and it can be done in front of their own authority figures without repercussions. I hope you all have the best day, and please remember to be kind to people who are simply trying to share their story and hopefully highlight the truly disgusting ways people are capable of treating each other. So, I've actually been accused of using ChatGPT previously because I used the word delve in one of my videos, which is honestly a wild accusation. I think if big words are used or if it's structured in a way where it's not linguistically familiar, people will kind of just jump to the AI train. But what I can say is that because of the way this is written, I can firmly state it's not ChatGPT. There's too many linguistical anomalies that don't structurally make sense for this to be AI written. It's not a knock against OP, it's just something that I've noticed. And I will say that in this situation, OP did the right thing. They contacted the flight attendants got involved, but the flight attendants should have probably moved the guy to a different seat. They probably didn't because the plane was full, but at the same time, I don't know. Also, shout out to the father for booking the middle seat to prevent someone from sitting next to his daughter. That was a really smart move on his end. Robin with a Y. Our neighbors have been having pool parties at our pool while we're not home for years. Update, I posted an update, but I don't know how to link it, so please click on my profile. We will be covering that. A few years ago, my husband and I purchased a house with a pool. Now, we are acquainted with most of our neighbors, but definitely not close friends with any of them. They all seem nice, but, well, we just don't have much in common other than where we live. Next door to the right is a family of 6, twin daughters attending the local university, high school-age son, and a young elementary school-age daughter, maybe 1st or 2nd grade, and the parents. Now, normally we open the pool in early May and leave it, keep it open until the end of October, but this year our weather was off and we had a very cool and very wet month of May, and then June went straight to 100+ temperatures. I am currently on a medication that makes it difficult for me to tolerate being in the sun and heat for an extended time. Plus, we've been helping 2 extended family members who are having health issues, so because of this, we haven't had our pool opened yet this year. Normally, we go to the family lake house for a week during each of the 3 major holidays, but we didn't go for Memorial Day because there was flooding around the lake this year, and because a family member was just discharged from the hospital yesterday, and July 4th being a Thursday this year, we decided to stay home this week and be available to help this family member. Now, several times in June, the little girl next door has seen either my husband or myself outside, and she asked when we're opening the pool. We first told her maybe later, but the last time, yesterday, she asked, and I said we were probably just not going to open it this year, and she started crying. Now, we have never had any of the neighbors over to use our pool, so I didn't understand why she was crying over us not opening our pool. Well, I spoke with the neighbor on the left later, and apparently our neighbors on the right have been having a small family party at our pool every 4th of July when we're gone. They've always cleaned up really well afterwards, and because we have scheduled pool maintenance and weekly yard service occasionally, things are moved around in our yard and we never thought much about it. The neighbor on the left thought we had given the other neighbors permission to use our pool. We did give them permission to retrieve any balls or toys that ended up in our yard, but never permission to use our pool, especially when we're not home. We have a special latch on the gate, and my husband did show the neighbor how to open the gate to retrieve his kids' toys. So now, my husband, who loves gadgets, is going to have several more cameras installed around the exterior of our house, covering the gate and pool area, and have the gate latch made where we can grant remote access for the pool service and yardmen. Luckily, we have a friend who does cameras and home automation systems. I'm annoyed our neighbors have been using our pool without permission, but my husband is happy I'm letting him get more gadgets around the house. Now, do we confront the neighbors and let them know we know they've been using our pool, or just wait and see if they say anything about our new security cameras? Update. Wow, I didn't expect this to blow up like it has. Certainly didn't expect over 1,000 comments. I've tried to read them all, and some were very creative and amusing to read. First of all, we don't want to hurt anyone or alienate our neighbors. We just don't want people using our pool without permission, and we don't want the liability associated with this activity. A few things I feel I need to clarify. Yes, our backyard is fully fenced in with 2 gates. One in back is double locked from the inside. The side gate, on the side of the garage nearest the neighbors in question, has a double latch that you have to reach over the top and find not 1, but 2 releases to open the gate. There is also an auto close that automatically closes the gate and latches it. I personally can't open the gate from the outside of the fence because I can't reach over that far to reach the 2 latches. The previous owner put this in, and it has worked well for our yard crew and the pool maintenance people. We do have some cameras, a doorbell camera, and a camera over our garage area. The garage camera picks up if someone goes towards the gate from the front, but we didn't want to invade our neighbor's privacy by recording their side garage door and gate to their backyard. We even shared the camera angle with them because we didn't want them to be concerned about us recording their children or their coming and going. I guess we were more concerned about their privacy than they were about ours. Anyway, the update. Thursday, July 4th morning. I was loading a few things in my vehicle to take my cousin who just got out of the hospital. Neighbor/husband, who has been gone a lot for work recently, saw me and came over and asked if I was getting a late start going to the lake. I let him know that we were staying home because we're helping my cousin who just got out of the hospital. He asked if we're going to be home all weekend. I said yes. One or both of us will be around all weekend. He quickly wished me a happy 4th and went home. I went back in to grab my purse and tell my husband about the conversation with the neighbor before I left. When I got home, our friend Mike was there. Mike does security cameras and home automation systems, gadgets, and my husband loves gadgets. Mike and my husband have a plan for multiple cameras and several gadgets, some of which involve us going ahead and having the pool opened. I agreed to all but one of the new cameras and almost all of the gadgets. I think my husband put some in the plan knowing he would have to give up a few of them. Mike also suggested talking to our homeowner's insurance agent because we might be able to get some discounts with the security upgrades. So, on Friday the 5th, Tom, our insurance guy, comes over and Mike is back, and he has a drone to help him find the best camera positions. Really, I think he just wanted to show off his gadget. So husband, Mike, and Tom are outside and all around the house and occasionally inside. I look outside every so often, and at different times, other neighbors have come outside and down to the end of our street. So neighbors want to know what's going on. So husband tells them we're concerned that someone, or several people, may have used our pool without our permission while we were not home. It turns out that 2 different neighbors had witnessed some friends of the neighbor's children coming over last year, and they and the neighbor's twins had gone into our backyard. One neighbor even asked the girls, and they claimed that we let them come over all the time and use our pool. So at this point, husband and Tom discussed this, and Tom says we should send a registered letter to the neighbors rescinding our permission from entering our fenced-in backyard. So before Mike and Tom left, the neighbors on the right, pool party neighbors, come home. Both husband and wife. My husband asks to talk to them, and with Mike and Tom as witnesses, he tells them that for insurance reasons, we are rescinding our permission for them or any member of their family or guests to enter our fenced-in backyard, and we will be sending a registered letter stating this as requested by our insurance. Husband never accused them or their children of using our pool, but said we had reason to believe that in the past our pool had been used without our permission. He did say that we had reason to believe that their older children might be friends with someone who has been in our pool. Husband also told them that we are changing the gate to have an automated lock and cameras will be installed around the pool area. He also assured them that we avoided the cameras pointing at their windows or backyard. Husband indicated that we're taking these measures to hopefully lower our homeowners' insurance rates. Husband said that they exchanged a few looks between them, but they said understood and appreciated the heads up. So hopefully, this saga is over. But if there are any updates, I will try and post them. Gadgets. Gadgets, gadgets, gadgets. It's a fun way of putting it. Yeah, they pretty much did everything they really should have in this situation. They took the proper steps. I like the way they tiptoed around the actual problem with getting it properly done without having to have a confrontational episode. Great way of handling everything, honestly. 8 out of 10. Needed more gadgets. I wonder if they ever found out their own daughter ratted on them, by the way, because it is kind of funny. The only reason why they actually figured this out is because the daughter had come over and asked them if they were opening the pool, essentially ratting on the entire family right then and there. Neighbors think they own the driveway. I live in an apartment and therefore share a driveway with our neighbors. We both have garages and the driveway itself is actually pretty big, being able to comfortably fit 5 to 6 cars without blocking anything. You would think this would be enough for them. The other day I came home from work, just wanting to take a shower and nap, and their truck is parked diagonally across the entrance to the driveway. I can't drive on the grass because there's trees in the way, and almost all of my other neighbors were having 4th of July parties, so the street had cars parked to the side. In other words, I had nowhere to park. Thankfully, one of the party guests left, but I was still pissed. I rang the doorbell. No answer. I knew they were home since both of their cars were in the driveway and they all stomp around like mammoths. This isn't the first time they've done stuff like this. They've parked in front of our garage multiple times despite having room in front of their own. They were parked so close that I couldn't even get into my own garage. They've also double parked behind me so close that I couldn't leave. Like I said earlier, the driveway is pretty big. There's no need to park like this, especially when there are places to park that aren't in the way. This also isn't a new concept. The apartments have always had shared driveways. Step 1. Get into contact with the apartment complex. If they refuse to do something, get into contact with a towing company. Depending on the city ordinance, it is within your right to have a vehicle towed that is blocking access to your property, or rental, or place of abode, essentially. So if they are realistically blocking you from getting into your home, you do have the right to tow them depending on what your city states. You have tried to do this the proper way by getting in direct contact with them, but at this moment they're currently ignoring you and also ignoring any requests you had for them not to block your entrance to your home. I know in Colorado this would stress the hell out of me because of hail. If I am forced to park on the street and a hailstorm shows up, well shit, that's a lot of damage being done to my vehicle because they decided to double park instead of leaving me room. So, there's a lot more reasons to be frustrated with your driveway being parked minus the inconvenience that it provides. I feel like there's going to be some of you that are like, big deal, just park down the driveway a little bit, so be it. But still, you're paying for that garage space. You should have access to it. I would say get into contact with a towing company, or at least contact your apartment complex and see what can be done about that first, because if they're actively ignoring you, then you should put your foot down. Scared Broccoli 2. Auntie is frustrated because she doesn't have the access she wants to our son. Auntie from husband's side. Thank God she lives in a different country. Even from before my child was born, although her relationship with me, also with husband, was not a close one, she started pushing her presents, her gifts, her plans on us. She doesn't have a grandchild of her own. I managed to put her in her place politely, and things are not happening the way she wished. I thought she would leave us alone and husband would grow a backbone and protect our privacy. He claims he's in between and all he wants is a united family, but I don't think that means protecting rude people and making myself a doormat. So if I'm reacting, I have a reason. Fortunately, we rarely talk to her now, but it seems she still hopes for something. I don't get what, but my intuition goes crazy. I mean, we have normal relationships with many people and our toddler has enough social life and I'm not worried, but everything with this woman seems to trigger me. We had a short video conversation a few days ago, the second one we had during this year up to now. Instead of using that time to check up on our kid and have a light talk or giving information from her side, which rarely happens, she scolded us for not taking the child to her place for vacation, like our business is hers. And she almost scolded me for being around my kid during the video call, that the kid is distracted by mom and doesn't want to look at her, when in fact, at his age, you can't really demand such things. It's creche age. Is she really that creepy or am I just paranoid? Her Facebook feed has many quotes. Analyzing them over the past few years since we had our son, all seems to be directed to me. She plays the victim. She thinks she's being used and treated badly and things are taken from her. I'm not stupid. She has plenty of issues but seems to be fixated on our personal life and decisions. Again, thank God there is a good physical distance between us. I imagine that if I don't have a position, the next thing that'll happen is speaking to my kid behind my back and convincing him different things. When he was 1, he had a video call. Again, she used the time to tell us that she can't wait for us to bring our son to her place to visit, so she could convince him not to want mommy and daddy's place again. I would never ever do that to anyone. How could you be that idiot to need that kind of validation from a small child, from someone else's child? Husband thinks that she's just plain stupid or making bad jokes with a good intention, and I don't want to talk to him anymore because he won't understand, but I tend to believe that it's not just a lack of common sense, it seems to be evil and intentional. This was a long rant, but if anyone has some advice, I'll be happy to read it. I'm not gonna lie, I am really struggling with this one because I feel like there's not enough information and I'm not seeing any red flags. I'm only seeing yellow and maybe a few orange flags where the behavior sure is a bit out of the ordinary, but it can easily be explained by other circumstances surrounding it. I feel like I have to preface everything that I'm about to say with this following statement. The mother is entitled to cut communication with this aunt. I also want to state that I'm being this analytical on this because OP specifically asked for other people's input. In my eyes, I think the aunt is reaching an age where she's probably wanting grandchildren, but doesn't have the means to have her own, and she kind of wants to be in the position of being a surrogate grandmother. As an example, when it comes to that off-color joke that she made about the kid liking her house more than mommy and daddy's, that sounds kind of like a joke that my grandparents would have made, and kind of a, oh, I'm gonna take such great care of the kids they'll never want to go home, in kind of like a fun, loving, joking way. That's how that comes off to me. Especially because if it was said right in front of the parents, that'd be a really weird time to confess your intentions right in front of the parents to a 1-year-old who's never going to remember that, instead of it just being a bit of an off-colored joke. If I am going to be incredibly charitable to the aunt, I think she wants the surrogate grandchild essentially to be closer in her life. That's why she wants to be there for them, that's why she wants to give gifts, that's why she's making plans, and it's supported by the fact that she doesn't have grandchildren of her own. So to the aunt's eyes, she goes through the effort of giving gifts and doing all these things for her surrogate grandchild and receives nothing in return and kind of feels like she's being excluded. So she goes on Facebook to kind of quiet vent about it because, you know, she's feeling the heartache from it and creates that kind of yellowish borderline red flag. This would also support some of the other comments that have been made, and I think that it does kind of lean more towards this, but I could very well be wrong and missing some very clear red flags here. I do think that because there is the added benefit of there being an entire country's worth of space between them, that a conversation could very well be had about what's kind of going on here and just talking things out. Because it could very well be that the aunt just kind of wants to be in almost like a godmother type position and really just wants to be a part of the family. OP did also state they don't want to be a doormat, and this would be a great first step to that. But again, it is her child and it is her choice. If she wants to cut communication with the aunt, she has every right to do so. The aunt is not entitled to time with the child. Now, I could be wrong, and I'm just trying to wrap my head around this, because if I'm gonna be honest, I didn't see too many red flags, which I'm actually kind of paranoid about this, because when I checked the comments to see if maybe there was more elaboration from OP and more examples of red flag behavior, I didn't see much. And most of the comments are like, yeah, go no contact, she's crazy, she's trying to steal your child from you. But I'm not getting that vibe. I don't know. And I've read a lot of really fucked up stories, and I feel like I'm going crazy. Because to me, this sounds just like an overbearing aunt and not someone who's trying to kidnap a grandchild, like the comments are suggesting. I don't know. I'm actually lost. I think that OP has the right to post this here because they do have the right to have these kind of paranoid thoughts, but all the comments are like, go no contact, she wants to steal your baby. Like, what the fuck is going on? Hey, welcome to the outro. Don't forget this whole thing is basically brought to you by GamerSupps. If you like caffeine, then I can't recommend GamerSupps enough. Use code OZ at checkout to support the channel. And I do actually use this product. It's replaced all other sources of caffeine for me because I feel good. It doesn't have any of that extra stuff that a pre-workout blend might have. It's with a couple of the extra things to make it so you don't crash as hard. It's good. I like it. Personally, if you really want a good flavor, try the Soda Pressing Pear or even the Dragon Fruit Punch. Those two are my personal favorites right now.